We are live. Today we are talking about omega-3s and of course all the benefits that they have. And we have, of course, our special guest, Lorna Vanderhaeghe, today joining us. So we're going to wait till she jumps on as well. Please let us know where you are joining from. I am here in Vancouver. It is a beautiful sunny day. We did have a big windstorm yesterday, so it pushed away all the clouds, and now it is a gorgeous day out here for us. So let us know. Are you in Canada, the US, what city? We'd love to know. And we will wait for Lorna to join us. Again, we are talking about omega-3s, those healthy fats, and all the things that we can benefit from them. And of course, how essential they are to us. Let's see, she has joined. Oh, Saskatchewan. Love it in Saskatchewan. My mom's actually from Saskatchewan. Hello, Lorna. Thank you so much for joining us today on our topic of omega-3s, the healthy fats. So before we get in, of course, I have to explain to everybody that you are my lovely mother. I am the youngest of four. So I'm Caitlyn Vanderhaeghe, President and CEO of KidStar Nutrients. And our special guest is Lorna Vanderhaeghe. Yes, she is my mother. We share the same last name. But she is also a natural health expert here in Canada, also very well known for her women's health. And today, of course, she's going to be giving her wisdom on omega-3s.
Well, and I also wrote a book about 20 years ago called Healthy Fats for Life with Carlene Karst. And, we're going to talk about a great subject today.
We are, definitely. And, a lot of people think omega-3, they just think fat. I guess. People maybe only think fish oil. Like, what comes to mind when you think omega-3? Of course, you're in the industry, so it's going to be a little sided there, but.
Well, omega-3s, there are three types of omega-3. There's alpha linolenic acid, there's EPA and DHA, and the ALA, which is the first one I talked about, is from plants. It does not convert into DHA. DHA is the omega-3 fatty acid that we want for brain health and eye health and hormone health. And so if you're just taking ALA, you're not going to get the DHA. You can get DHA from fish oil, of course, and you can also get it in a vegetarian version from algae.
Yes.
Then we have EPA, which is the most researched form of omega-3. But most people, when they go to buy an omega-3 supplement, they are buying an EPA DHA from fish oil. And these are essential fatty acids, and they're called essential because we need to get them from our food, and they are essential for life. So they affect multiple different systems in the body, and incredibly important for preventing a whole host of diseases. And I'm telling you right now that if you really want to find out what your omega-3 levels are, the best way to do that, and you can test your entire family with a little prick on the finger, and you squeeze the blood onto a blood spot on a little piece of paper. It's mailed away, and they can tell you what your omega-3 levels are. And they can also do it for breast milk. So if you're breastfeeding, even more important, because we're going to talk about how important omega-3s are for kids, they can also test your breast milk. And everyone thinks they eat well. You have to eat a lot of fish to have high levels of omega-3. And you must have high levels of omega-3 in the body because they are essential. So getting tested is important. So where do you go get tested? Type in www.testingmyhealth.com and go and purchase the omega-3, the total omega score. So it tells you all your omegas. And if you are breastfeeding, even more important, get your breast milk tested. And they have a mom and baby test as well, because we want to make sure that we build healthy, smart children. And to have healthy children that are very intelligent, we know that the higher your EPA and DHA levels are, the smarter your kids will be.
Yes.
So everybody needs to get tested. So go to.
So I've done that test, and I put it in the chat so everyone can see it. I did the breast milk one with my third daughter, and yes, I hovered right around that middle low. It was just tipping over to the red side. And I did take a prenatal DHA my entire pregnancy. But again, as we know, with maintenance doses, that was just maintaining my poor level. It did not give me the amount of omegas, and specifically DHA was which I was taking, to get my levels up where they needed to be for my pregnancy.
Right.
So, even taking a supplement that's maintenance, if you're low and you don't know you're low because you didn't do the testing my health, you're not going to get it high enough for where you need it for optimal levels.
That's right. And mine, of course, was in the super high level because I know Bruce Holub, who is one of the original researchers in omega-3, and he told me 20 years ago, you need to take 4,000 milligrams a day as an adult of omega-3s to be in the stellar range of omega-3, which is where you want to be, especially if you want to have healthy hormones, if you want to be a high functioning adult, you want to prevent Alzheimer's. We can go through a whole bunch of health conditions that are affected when your levels are low, or if you want to improve them. So do you want to do that now?
I do. I was going to say also, we could even start with just pregnancy because, of course, we focus a lot on DHA,
right?
For pregnancy, for the brain health, for the baby, for growth and development, eye health. So let's start there, and then we'll move our way up in age.
Right. So if you're pregnant, as Caitlyn said, a prenatal with DHA is not going to cut it. And if you're not eating fish every day, which we're not, because especially during pregnancy, they're worried about mercury levels. So people are not consuming, even before, people used to eat canned fish. Well, we've even cut that down to a minimal level because of the fear of heavy metal toxicity. And if you've listened to Caitlyn and I's talks on YouTube about iron, you know that if you're iron deficient, your heavy metals like mercury go way up. And so that's another nutrient you should become very aware of. But when it comes to omega-3s, before you decide to have a baby, you need to take 4,000 milligrams of fish oil a day, because we know during development, omega-3s are used for cognitive health, for a smart baby, for brain development, for eye development. We know that infants and children that have adequate levels of omega-3, that it reduces type 1 diabetes. So if you have a family history of this autoimmune type of diabetes, then you definitely should be taking a lot of omega-3s, especially if you decide you want to have children.
And then remember, you said 4,000 fish oil, right?
Yes. So 4,000 milligrams of fish oil, which contains both EPA and DHA. Now, if you are doing ALA, that does not give you any DHA. You get none. So then you would have to supplement with DHA. And people always say, well, what kind of fish oil? Well, you want a good quality fish oil. It should not smell bad. That's incredibly important. If you're buying a liquid fish oil and it smells terrible, don't eat it. It's probably rancid.
Yes.
And then another recommendation I have is when you buy fish oil capsules, make sure you can swallow them. So the ones I buy are these very tiny, long, narrow ones. And of course, KidStar Nutrients for kids has the little round ones that are chewable.
They're tiny.
And yeah, I was calling them poppers, and then someone told me that was a drug and I should never say that again. But they're little, tiny. Look at how small they are. So if you can't swallow pills, this is a great way to do so, and you can chew them. And the actual gelatin is blueberry flavored, so it tastes good, and kids really like them.
And you're right.
So,
and you're going to be talking about heavy metals, and so the fish that you need to be looking for in the fish oil supplements should be the small, sustainable fish. The smaller the fish, they naturally have less heavy metals in them because, of course, their life cycle is significantly shorter as well. And of course, in Canada here, we do test all of our products. It is required by law to have third-party testing for heavy metals. So that is one very important thing to look for. So if there's an NPN on the product, it's made in a GMP facility, and of course, it's third-party tested for those types of things. But if you're already getting the small, sustainable fish, you're already going to have less of those heavy metals in the product to start with.
Yeah. But in Canada, you're right. So our fish oil does not have elevated levels of mercury and all of those things. I cannot vouch for American products. So you definitely want to buy a Canadian fish oil product that has an NPN number on the side of the bottle. It'll say NPN and it'll have the numbers on the side. And that means that Health Canada has actually approved it for sale. So this is what sets our Canadian products apart from some of the American products that are sold. So someone asked a question about 4,000 milligrams. That is fish oil.
Yes.
So you want 4,000 milligrams of fish oil a day. Fish oil contains both EPA and DHA. And get tested, because it'll be really exciting, because you'll get your omega-3s tested, and then you go on fish oil for 60 days and get tested again, and you're going to be blown away because you'll be in the stellar level.
Yes.
And this is, of course, super important. So I was just going to say that after we talked about kids, infants and pregnancy, that then you've also got to make sure that mom, when she's breastfeeding, is supplying a lot of omega-3s. So that's why it's important to get the breast milk tested.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because it continues.
It does. And we want to make sure. And, you know, omega-3s are important for our hormones. We know there's research that's been done showing that when you have high levels of omega-3, that you have less menstrual pain, you sleep better, your skin is better. There's just, it's such a systemic supplement. It makes a difference in the entire body. There's a lot of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease happening right now. People who don't drink, they eat fairly well, but they're getting a fatty liver, which, you know, shortens our lifespan. We know that omega-3s have been researched for non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So again, 4,000 milligrams a day of omega-3s from EPA and DHA. If you're only taking algae, then you would want to have about half and half, so 2-to-1 ratio of algae to EPA. What if you're vegetarian and you don't use fish oil? Then I like ahi flower oil, because it contains a different fatty acid called stearidonic acid. We call that SDA. And SDA is a great source of vegetarian omega-3s. But remember, the bulk of the research over the last 40 years has been done on fish oil. And our fish oil is very, very good. Cod liver oil was my generation. We took cod liver oil. It was horrible. You know,
I remember it.
it's an alternative, but I mean, when I look at the EPA and DHA research, I would recommend fish oil, or I would recommend ahi flower oil with algae.
Yeah. And on the algae front, you do have to read the label. Some of them have DHA and EPA, some only have EPA. So you really have to focus on the label when you go to the algae, because the ratios are varied. It's very different when you're making a product with algae versus the fish. So do read the entire label if you're supplementing with a vegetarian vegan source.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we should also talk about the fact that it's important for eye health. If you have dry eyes, you should be using omega-3s. And again, 4,000 milligrams a day, because someone's going to ask that question. For kids, what would you recommend for kids?
For kids, the daily maintenance is about 500 milligrams of fish oil a day. If your kids have dry eyes or any behavioral differences, up to 2,500 milligrams of fish oil a day.
Right. And then if you want to maintain healthy total cholesterol levels, there's a lot of debate about cholesterol. So I'm not going to get into, you know, whether a 5 cholesterol number is good or not, or if 7 is bad. I'm not going to do that, because it's really about the ratio of your HDL, your healthy cholesterol, to your LDL, which they classify as lousy cholesterol. But to keep your triglycerides, your HDL and your LDL in the right range, and also to deal with blood clots. You know, there's a lot of people talking about microclots right now. You want to be on fish oil. And, you know, this recommendation of 4,000 milligrams of fish oil a day for adults is not for people on blood thinners. So I had someone the other day in one of our talks, Caitlyn, send me an email asking me a whole bunch of questions, which I dutifully answered. And then the last email they sent back was, oh, by the way, I'm on blood thinners. And I said, scrap all the information I just gave you.
Yeah.
So, you know, what we're talking about is for people who are not on blood thinners.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's very important when you're on prescription drugs to notify people because, yeah, there are some contraindications. And, you know, a lot of supplements work so well that, you know, you need to know what they're taking as well before you can move on with that one. But it is, when you were speaking about the dry eyes and speaking about all the other things, all I thought to myself was the only times that I've been told by a practitioner to take omegas is when I was pregnant for dry eyes and a little bit for behavior. They just said, you should just make sure your kids are on an omega-3 for brain health. That's it. There was not a lot of conversation about it. It wasn't, you should increase, you know, fish in your diet. It wasn't, there was no why. So it's very interesting the amount of information we're actually given on this topic when you're right. It's essential fatty acids for our bodies. We need them.
Yeah.
Our brains are made up of fat.
Yeah, we need to take essential fatty acids. And when it comes to mood disorders, depression, and anxiety, omega-3s have been extensively researched for anxiety, for fear of the future. You think about our kids that are really dealing with a lot of anxiety. And let's be frank, I mean, kids are not eating fish. I keep trying to get my grandkids to eat fish, and they're really not fans of it. And so, you know, honestly, when we look at where are we going to get really good quality omega-3s in our diet, it's hard to do it, especially the quantity that we need for optimal health. So I think supplementation is really the best way to go to make sure that you've got a lot. And I mean, I'm completely sympathetic to people who tell me, well, you know, there's only so many nutrients I can buy every month, especially for a whole family.
Yeah.
But when you look at the foundation nutrients, essential fatty acids are essential. A good multivitamin, those are foundation. And then things like Moducare for your immune system, that would kind of be like my foundational supplements. But once you do the testing my health omega-3 tests, then you're going to, and then you do a follow-up, you know, 60 days later to see what happens, how quickly you can improve that. And North Americans, our omega-3 levels are so much lower than Asian cultures in Asia because they eat a lot more omega-3 rich foods.
They do. And you know, wild fish is very expensive. Like we always talk about the iron and how, you know, red meat is expensive. Well, fish is also extremely expensive, especially when you're buying wild. And you're right, it's extremely hard. You have a family of 5, you're trying to feed everybody all these, you know, nutrient dense, great foods, healthy, organic, and it all adds up. And so you do have to pick and choose which foods you're going to purchase, which supplements you're going to purchase. And we do have to make a choice. And supplements are concentrated. So you get a lot higher dose in a much smaller amount. So it is a good trade-off. If you can't get those healthy fats in your diet, the supplement is a great alternative.
Right. And for kids, we know that kids that are low in omega-3s, they're at higher risk of ADHD or attention hyperactivity disorder, or maybe just attention disorder. They have more anxiety, they have more sleep problems. There's a whole host of research using omega-3s for sleep improvement. So if you're that 55-year-old woman who's now waking up at 3 a.m., you might want to look at your omega-3 levels as well. So fish oil is a good alternative. Again, for people who just came in at the beginning of our podcast, we talked about the fact that there are vegetarian alternatives as well, like ahi flower oil and algae. But fish oil's got an absolute wealth of research surrounding it for everything from, as I said, menstrual pain, hormone balancing, hot flash reduction. You know, it's not going to work on its own to reduce your hot flashes, but it's a contributing nutrient that you would take. There's research showing that people with higher levels of omega-3 have lower rates of cancer It's absolutely essential that if you are trying to get pregnant, that you are on adequate levels of omega-3.
100%.
And for kids, all the omega-3 benefits for children.
I know we may not be, it's hard with an omega-3 supplement because you don't see physically this benefit in your kids, in the next 30 days because nothing physical is changing. But on the inside of their body, it is essential to have those omega-3s, and especially as a building block as they grow. We did not mention the benefits of EPA. So the EPA is more of the inflammation side, correct? That's really when we start thinking about EPA, it moves to that, correct?
Yeah. Well, EPA, they both work in those areas. The EPA is a contributing factor, but yes, it works on calming inflammation. It has a big role to play when we're talking about heart disease prevention and treatment. It's also important for Alzheimer's disease, but so is the DHA. So when they study fish oil, they're looking at both EPA and DHA combined. They're not looking at them separately. That's why I like fish oil, because you would get both. And, when you look at vegetarians, there is more challenges. There's a whole host of nutrient deficiencies that can happen. And for those who are vegetarian who may be offended by that, I was vegetarian, birthed 4 children vegetarian. And so I know that you can do a vegetarian diet and do it well. It just is more challenging, and you've really got to be looking at your nutrients. And I like what you said, that fish oil is super concentrated. You should also take vitamin D3. There are fish oil supplements with vitamin D3 in them. And, there's also a question. I have a liquid vitamin, a German brand, but kids can't stand the smell of it. Yeah, well, if it doesn't smell good, it's not good. One of the things about odor, when fish oil starts to go rancid, it smells very, very bad. Same with GLA, which is another fatty acid. If it starts to smell fishy, it's not good. So throw it away. And, try Caitlyn's KidStar Nutrients. She has this great little omega-3s, and I think you have them on sale. You have a deal happening or something.
We have a bundle right now for promo, I believe, on the website now. But of course, there's a specific Friday coming up that might have something happening too.
Yeah, exactly. But go check it out. I mean, the kids love them, and Caitlyn's oldest daughter learned how to swallow capsules by learning with those tiny little soft gels. So the 3-year-olds love them because they can chew them.
The tiny ones.
They're teeny.
They're teeny. So they're chewable soft gels, but you can also swallow them, which is wonderful. And just these 2 tiny ones, it gives you 500 milligrams of fish oil, but it also gives you 250 of that is DHA.
Yeah.
And then I think about 60 milligrams of EPA. And then, of course, some vitamin D3 in there as well. Us Canadians always could use some extra vitamin D3.
Well, vitamin D3 is the only vitamin that acts like a hormone in the body. And we cannot be deficient. In the Northern Hemisphere, we have higher rates of autoimmune diseases. We have higher rates of a whole host of conditions that are associated with vitamin D3 deficiency. And we're vitamin D3 deficient because we're not out naked in the sun every day.
It's true.
We are just not, and it's winter again soon. And so we will all be bundled up in our parkas and our scarves and not getting any vitamin D3. So,
and of course, there's that fun shadow trick. Once your shadow is longer than you are, you're not getting enough adequate sun from the vitamin D from the sun, of course, to hit your body to then convert into vitamin D3. So as soon as your shadow is longer than you, you have to supplement, but you should be supplementing the whole time.
Well, that's if you have sunshine, but for half of our year, we don't.
That's very true.
It's dark and gray. Anyways, but I think that, we really covered a lot today. If you look at all of the health conditions that improve when you get your omega-3 levels into the optimal range, eye health, depression, anxiety, ADHD in kids, sleep problems in kids and adults, hormone problems, menstrual pain. Think about all the teenagers suffering with menstrual pain, and other women. And then the older women, we talk about hot flashes, cardiovascular health. I mean, honestly, if we got our kids on omega-3 supplements and they took omega-3s until they died, we would be able to dramatically lower the death rates from heart disease, because we do not get enough omega-3 in our diet.
Definitely. And you know what? I completely agree on the testing. I now think that it's been, 6 years since I did my last test. I need to do it again to see where I'm at. But I always remind everyone with iron, if you're taking a maintenance dose and you're low, it's only going to keep you where you're at. You're not going to get back up to the optimal level. So it's the same goes for omega-3s. We do need to know our numbers. We need to know our levels so that we can take more to get ourselves up to that optimal level for our bodies to function properly. We have to set the building blocks young for our kids, so as they age, they don't have problems that we could have prevented. So it's all extremely important. And yeah, now I think I'm gonna have to go to, is testingmyhealth.com, correct?
Yeah.
Testing.
So testingmyhealth.com. It's a Canadian company. Back east, so a great little Canadian company. And there was a question about scleroderma. Scleroderma is definitely an autoimmune disease. You want to be on at least 4,000 milligrams of fish oil, and you should be on a 5,000 IU a day vitamin D3. So, you know, the fact that you've got supplements with fish oil and vitamin D3, that's a perfect combination for people.
Perfect.
Yeah.
If there's any more questions, we'll stay on for a few more minutes. But otherwise, that was a wonderful Instagram Live and very informative on our omega-3 topic. And yes, so now takeaways were definitely get tested. Make sure you take enough every day for optimal levels. So kids, minimum 500 milligrams of fish oil. Adults, 4,000 milligrams of fish oil. And of course, increase as needed, depending if you have a condition or not. But yeah, get tested. We need to know our levels.
Oh, it's so interesting. I find these things, and then once you get tested, and hopefully you're not in the low end like Caitlyn was, but if you are, take a lot of fish oil or your ahi flour with algae DHA, and then get tested again.
Definitely. I know we definitely always need to make sure, get tested, then we take action, you know, around 3 months, and then get tested again to make sure everything's working. Because, you know, you might have needed more. And we really want to make sure that we're preventing any issues from occurring. So knowing your numbers, taking your products, test again, it's going to be great.
And where are your products in Canada? Everybody always wants to know this, and what websites, and so give them the spiel.
We are in locations across Canada, from independent health food stores, pharmacies, small grocery chains, larger grocery chains like Superstore, online like well.ca, Healthy Planet. We have direct consumer as well on our own website at kidstarnutrients.com. And we have a store finder as well on the kidstarnutrients.com page. So you can find your specific city as well. So we are.
And it's Christmas, and don't you have like some kind of book giveaway? Like you wrote this kid's book.
Will be coming up. You can't give away all our secrets.
Okay. Well,
yes, we'll definitely have some fun things coming up in December. And of course, there is a specific holiday coming up at the end of this month that will also have a great deal occurring. And we also have some webinars. I'm doing one on iron through KidStar Nutrients, I think on November 20th. I can't remember. Someone on the team should be able to put that in the chat. And then you also are doing a webinar as well on tummy troubles. So that one's in December. So between the two of us and our Instagram lives, you'll see lots of us over the next month and a half. And you'll get to learn even more about the KidStar Nutrients brand, Moducare, and of course, our iron line, which is called Biofy Iron.
And people can go to lornahealth.com, which is my website, especially for all those women's health questions that you are used to having answered. And sign up for my newsletter. Then you find out when I'm going to be speaking next. So anyways, it's been lots of fun. Go to testingmyhealth.com, go to kidstarnutrients.com, and let's get our omega-3 levels up before Christmas.
Yes, that's right. We have a goal.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Lorna. I really appreciate it. And everybody have a wonderful week. And we'll see you next time on our next Instagram Live.
Take care.
See you guys.